One of the tests of any reform movement with regard to personal liberty is this: will the movement prohibit or abolish private property? If it does, it is an enemy of liberty. For one of the most important criteria of freedom is the right to private property in the products of one's labor. Clarence Lee Swartz. The Kiwi philosopher Jesse Spafford has a new book out from the Cambridge University Press for $110. Thankfully, it can be read in its entirety for free online. The link is in the description. The title is Social Anarchism and the Rejection of Moral Tyranny. Spafford writes, "The book aims to put dialectical pressure on right libertarians who share many of the social anarchists' philosophical intuitions and methodological commitments, but reach very different conclusions when it comes to distributive justice. The book will try to show that right libertarians are mistaken in their conclusions and should thus enter the social anarchist orbit. If someone labors to produce something, the presumption should be that they can claim the value of what they produced. The primary concern of the great historical anarchists like Proudhon and Tucker has always been a fixation on what constitutes theft. Property is theft, said Proudhon. Depriving anyone of the full product of labor is theft, said Tucker. Spafford just denies that theft is possible. Spafford not only denies that land can be owned, but that there are any owned resources or artifacts. No one can own anything. As an example, with his time, A labors to make a shovel, and B and C do not. Maybe they will make something else. Maybe they spend their time sleeping. Spafford thinks that A does not own the shovel. Spafford justifies this by arguing that everyone in the world did not expressly consent to let A use the materials required for the shovel, and he thinks that such consent would be necessary in order for someone to own the shovel. Liberty in production and exchange is, as Benjamin Tucker wrote, the most important of all liberties, without which, in fact, all other liberties are of no value or next to none. But while Spafford abolishes property in name, he reestablishes it through the back door. Spafford writes that in Aesop's fable of the lazy grasshopper and industrious ants, that it is just for the ants to refuse provisions to the grasshopper and to let him starve to death. How, in practice, this is distinct from the ants acquiring property rights in the products of their labor is not made clear. Spafford therefore seems to accomplish the opposite of what he set out to do. He said that he would use principles he shared with right libertarians to show that their conclusions are wrong. Instead, starting from quixotic principles, he reaches conclusions seemingly indistinguishable from the right libertarians he criticizes. Libertarianism really is correct, and even starting from some bizarre premises, Spafford cannot avoid that conclusion, whether he himself knows it or not. The ultimate revolution of justice promised in the 19th century by the great anarchist thinkers of that time has tarried, but it will come. This book does nothing to change that. This has been our review of Social Anarchism and the Rejection of Moral Tyranny by Springtime of Nations.